Welcome back to Boring Reviews.
Boring land.
Oh, just kidding.
Blasphemer.
Hello,
right.
Boring Review Nation.
Kind of pointless.
We know all things. Ready?
Yeah, go ahead.
Hello, Boring Review Nation. Gabe.
Nick.
And we're here today to review episode 4. Episode 4. Man, we're turning through these things super fast, aren't we? But I'm telling you, this Paatal series, it's absolutely bananas. And these cliffhangers just make you want to keep watching and watching. And you know, you had a theory. You asked me in the very first episode, like, dude, didn't the chick, the
Mary?
Didn't Mary kind of have like male-ish features? Like, you know, there was something strange or off about her. And I was like, I didn't see anything. I don't, you know, that was just me. You know what I mean? But we find out this episode that Mary's a little boy at the beginning of the episode. And it's funny how they started off with the flashback. You know, episode 3, we got Kabir.
That was actually kind of cool, like a little heisting between these two kids. That was pretty clever.
Yeah, there was a little heist between two kids, and we find out that Mary's one of the little boys or whatever, and that's probably her first time putting on makeup or whatever when she started exploring, so to speak, and went from being a him to a her. You know what I mean? That transgender experience. But it was crazy because, you know, you in the very first episode picked that up, and I hadn't picked it up. Now I'm gonna tell you right now, all these guys' stories are full of crap, bro. Her story's the worst. You know what I mean? Like, it's funny because in the episode, and I say she gets beat down by the cop, but we're used to seeing that, especially in a lot of these Indian shows. They show a lot of police brutality. You know what I mean? I guess that's how they get information. And he absolutely beats her down when he finds out that.
Oh, he's so mad because he knows it's going to come back on him, and don't want to get too far ahead. But yes, he is so mad. And I gotta say, since we're starting with this whole situation with Mary's storyline, that was hard to watch. When you got Chaudhary, the guy that, you know, we're following as our hero, when he's just beating her down. And I understand, you know, transgender, that she was born a boy, but in my eyes, she's a girl at that point. That's how she, you know, operates. She doesn't seem too tough, and he's just beating her down. Like, that was hard to watch.
Right, but he knew it was going to come down on her because you even heard the other inmate yelling, "Oh, what if I had got raped in here? That's on you." So as a cop, you're thinking, "Oh my gosh, I screwed up." Now, realistically, he didn't screw up. It was the female police.
Yeah, the female cop was right there. She was too busy with her phone to, you know, take a look.
And that's one of the things I love about this show. They have some foreshadowing in there. They give you a little Easter eggs here and there or whatnot, where they kept like focusing on the fact that she wasn't really paying attention during the interview and that she was just on her phone and telling her, go ahead, strip and do this or whatever. But she was kind of like going through the motions of her job. And they laid that Easter egg for now. We know why she didn't search her too thoroughly, and come to find out it's a transgender person. So obviously should have been in a different cell. And that's going to come back because they had her segregated with the women. So that's going to come back to bite them in the butt. But I mean, I just love how they set that up in the very first episode. Now, you're right. I jumped all over the place.
Oh, you're good. Let's just talk about that for a few seconds. So what Gabe was talking about, I don't think it was recorded that I had called that, but we had a conversation before we started recording. We were just talking about this or that. And I was like, you know, I think that, you know, Mary might be originally a guy. And he's like, really? I don't know. And I was like, you know, it's just a feeling I have. So it was nice to know that I was right about that. But the cool thing is it starts off like we talked about with a little heist with the two boys. The other one, I'm not sure if we find out if there's anyone that we know about in the future, but there's like, you're talking about 8 or 9-year-old kids who steal a handbag from a mom on a train because her lazy son is too busy with his video game. Right. Like, he tried, hey, don't come back. No. And then the mom comes back. He's like, I tried. But when that's how this Mary starts off as a little thief. And like you said, with the makeup or anything. Anyways, what I'm trying to say, my whole point is we had another conversation before this recording where Gabe has a theory that, you know, maybe Mary could possibly be the mastermind of these group of assassins. And I was like, I don't know. And I don't really think so. But if you think about it, we find out that Mary started off as a liar and a thief and as like that double agent type thing as a kid. It would make sense if that's the Easter egg, if she is that double agent in real life, where I mean, all she does all she does is cry, and not just cry, but wail and wail and wail and make it so over the top. I can't. And she looks, like you said, she looks like a boss when she's walking out of that room ready to go for that assassination.
Right.
It can't be that easy that, like she said, they just pay me some money to be with them. So there's a girl there, then it's less, whatever. There might be some validation to your theory is what I'm trying to say.
Right. Like I said, her story's the worst. Okay. They all have bad stories, but hers is the worst. And I'm like, okay, then somebody just paid you $2,000. But here's the thing. She dropped the name. She gave a name and she was like, this is a person who paid me to be in the car or whatnot. So at least it gave Chaudhry an avenue, a lead. Now, something else happens in this episode where Tariq, I think his name is Tariq, right? I think it is Tariq, and he was one of the other informants from like episode 2 or 3. I can't remember which one he was in, but he gets killed. They find him that he was strangled or something like that. So now somebody is still on the outside making moves because this was one of the people that was giving them leads and giving them information on, like I like to call them the 4 horsemen, but the 4 potential assassins. Because to this point, nobody has said yes, we were paid to go assassinate anybody. That's what the FSB, I can't remember the name of the higher police or the
intelligence
group is, but that's what they said. We still don't know that. Okay, the cops don't even know that. You stopped 4 people on the bridge. They threw a phone out of a window. What evidence do you really have? Okay, we got a call. Okay, they knew what hotel they were going to be at. Okay, that's it. You got a call. Now, granted, okay, you do have a guy in the car who has 45 bodies on him. By bodies, I mean, that means murders, guys. But 45 bodies. When you got 45 bodies, it should be a crime just to be next to somebody like that, okay? It rubs off on you. Even if you didn't do anything, you know what I mean? You're guilty by association. So obviously, they were up to no good. But do we really know that their end goal was to kill Sanjeev, okay? And if it was, why was it? You know what I mean? Who sent them?
Obviously, you bring up a great point. How can you prove that intent? You have to have something concrete. And at least here in the States, I think they have 48 hours to detain until they officially arrest because they want to take that person to trial. So, I mean, that's a good point.
Man, I'm telling you, I am loving this show, but why don't you give them, you're the best at it, give them that quick, Nick 5-minute rundown of the whole episode. I know I've been dominating the conversation a lot here, so give them that quick 5 minutes that you've been used to.
All right, so let me see if I can do this because even though I just watched this yesterday, I want to make sure I don't forget certain things, but this episode was tough for me. I'm not going to say it was my least favorite, but it was my least enjoyable because of what happens to our main man, Chaudhry. So he's still doing his investigation. He is, he's got this brother-in-law who is, taking money from him and his wife to sell these stinking soda things that nobody likes. And so he's got his personal issues going on. Who knows what his son is doing, but his son is not in the right place, hanging out with friends, trying to ask for drugs. This kid's obsessed with weapons, for crying out loud. And so he's going down the bad road. And I liked how this show, let's not spend a whole bunch of time. Let's spend 1 minute letting the viewers know what his son is doing because that's going to play later on in the show, right. I'm assuming. But you have Chaudhry's investigation, and he's working with his partner. And this starts off really interestingly to where his younger partner, gets some kind of promotion. I don't know what kind of promotion it was. I don't know if he's at the same level now as Chaudhry, if he's above, if he's below, if he's just moving up the ranks way faster than the usual person did. I'm not sure. And this is to Gabe's point. We had talked about this before we recorded. I'm not sure if that's the other guy who's trying to get back at Chaudhry by kind of stifling him, or if his partner is like an informant and that's how he got to, it's a very interesting thing. And Chaudhry's like, how come you didn't tell me else before? Oh, I tried, but the phone wasn't working. I want to tell you in person. Like, that was a little questionable, even though I like his partner.
He's a snitch. I'm gonna call it right now. He's telling. All right. He's Tekashi 6ix9ine. That dude is telling. All right.
Judas, right? The Judas.
So
you have that whole thing going on, and Chaudhry cannot catch a break. He's got his upper superior who's just a jerk, and he doesn't want him to go anywhere. And at one point, I was so happy when he just gets him against the wall and he says, "Get out of my way. This is my one chance. I don't care about you." And the guy is such a wuss. He's like, "Oh, don't do anything." So, I mean, you got his own personal issues, and that is what was hard for me to watch. Sanjeev, who I really liked the first 2 episodes, I mean, I'm starting not to trust him more and more. He's got his own storyline. He goes to his boss, and his boss is like, we have to have that conversation basically about your exit interview. And he's like, I don't know about that. Shows all the flowers in his room after his newscast he gave, where he gave up Vishal's name and everything. And he's like, the people love me. It's going to be really hard to get rid of me when the people have spoken and they want me to stay.
Right.
And he's feeling so good about himself that when his girlfriend, Sarah, his mistress, comes in the room, he's ready to make out with her right there in front of the entire newsroom, because now he thinks he's walking on water. I mean, this is a guy, I'm not going to, and I get this is a show. This is all make-believe. I'm not going to go as far as say, well, maybe the assassin should have carried out the thing. But this is a hard guy to feel bad for. I mean, when he has an opportunity, he is taking advantage of that opportunity. And again, this goes back to my theory from episode 1, our review, where I said, or maybe it was episode 2, I said, I think this, maybe it was episode 3. Anyways, I think this guy is in on the whole thing. I think he had something to do with it.
You called it.
Things are working way too well for him.
You know what? This episode gave me that feeling. At first, I was thinking like, nah, Nick, you're off. Who's going to hire a dude who's got 45 bodies on him, okay? What if he gets to it? I wouldn't even take that chance, all right? But seeing how things are playing out and how much maybe this is just how journalists are. They see an opportunity and they're going to go for it. I tell you what, journalists are fearless. When we had the protest here, a couple weeks ago, the journalists were right in the thick of things, bro. And a couple of them got assaulted. I mean, honestly, these guys have, stones of steel, so to speak. Okay. They've got no fear. So I'll give him that, but he's being too coy with it. And at first I was like, nah, but now I agree with you. If he didn't set it up himself, he at least knows who did. You know what I mean? He had something to do with it. I'm just getting that feeling. And you're right. He no longer, because of this episode, I feel like he no longer gets that sympathy from us. You know what I mean? As a viewing audience, you always like, who are we rooting for? That's another thing. Who is Chaudhry? I guess Chaudhry is the protagonist here, because we're rooting for him as the cop. Obviously, we're most interested in Tyga, or Taiji. I don't know how to say his name. Sorry about that, guys. But, is he the antagonist that we're following? Like, I don't know if you ever saw a show called Dexter. Of course I would look Dexter, but Dexter was about this serial killer, and he was the star of the show. He was this serial killer who used to kill other serial killers and other killers or whatever. It was on HBO a long time ago. But in any event, it's like, who are we following? Whose storyline? Because at one point they make you feel good for a character, but then when you see for instance, in this episode, Chaudhry kick the living crap out of this woman. I'm sorry, whatever, transgender person, but it's still, she's a woman. She identifies as a woman. Like I like you. I felt like that's really tough to see. And I'm like, oh man. So who are we rooting for? I tell you who I felt bad for. I felt bad for Sanjeev's wife, bro. You know what I mean? Like, obviously she's got some mental issues going on. And then right there at the dinner, he disappears on her, and she is getting help from the mistress. I'm like, what is going on right now?
And all the confusion of all the different, I can't think of the phrase right now, but they keep having us get our direction or our attention in different directions that we're not supposed to. And all of that, the one thing that's constant, that's for sure, is Sanjeev is a horrible husband. I mean, the first episode, I was like, that would kind of annoy me too, that she made about her, but he doesn't make anything about her, it appears. And this guy, I mean, she's having an attack, and to his point, he's got his agenda. I've got to get the upper hand on this guy, Kapoor, in the bathroom or whatever. But when he finds his wife and she's right there with Sarah, he's like, okay, let's go. And Sarah's trying to start a conversation with him where, if he was careful, she might be able to say something. He was just kind of dismissed with her. I'll see you later. And he's going on. This guy he's all about himself. I don't know how well my theory does hold water, because the biggest disruption in that theory is Vishal. Like you said, why would he hire a guy that has 45 murders? And why would Vishal agree to be a patsy unless Sanjeev has something on Vishal that Vishal actually cares about? We find out in episode 3, where he takes out those 3 guys, that he cares about his family. He cares about his sisters. Maybe Sanjeev has something to do with his family, where he's got that on him, where he's using him as a pawn. But I just don't see Vishal you know, he's like a Joker character. He doesn't care about anything else. He doesn't have any other motivations. I can't see him going along with this charade, but it's possible, or it's possible, like you said, that Sanjeev is just taking advantage of this and he's riding this into this to the sunset, trying to get everything he can. What I can say is it's incredibly intriguing. It's incredibly entertaining. And we have gotten several comments that of people that don't like this show. And I get a lot are saying about propaganda, things against Hindus. And I'm not okay with that kind of stuff. I haven't seen it myself, but I'm not Hindu, so I'm not sure. But I'm saying this show for me is so far very captivating, and we're already halfway through. I don't see any weaknesses in it just yet. Maybe the second half gets really weak. Who knows?
Right. No, definitely. And I mean, I guess it's all into interpretation, right? So if we don't have any background on it or any knowledge on it, obviously we're going to miss those cultural implications there. If there is any propaganda, how would we know? You know what I mean? We're just taking the show for what it is, the way it's been written, how intriguing it is, how it's layered, and how they've done a good job of, you know, giving us foreshadow, making us want to keep going to the next episode. Hey, what's going to happen next? You know what I mean? Well, I'm still wondering about the phone. You were right. You called it. At the end of the episode 1, was it? They show the phone. He said, we're not going to see that phone forever. Bro, episode 4, still no phone. How long does it take people to crack the phone? Come on. I need to know who he was calling, all right? But I know I cut you off. I just want to go ahead and finish it off. He does get bold and tries to hook up with his assistant or at the office. And after that, he ends up going to the dinner and at his boss's dinner, cornering him in the bathroom. They have their discussion. Okay, the next storyline that we're following is, again, our boy Chaudhry. Now, unfortunately, he got dimed out. Okay, it happened twice. First, he the name, and we find out about this at the very beginning of the episode, Vishal Tiger's name was released. Who did that? Obviously, it was Sanjeev, and he confronts Sanjeev about that. But Sanjeev is using this to his own benefit. Then I don't know who dimed him out, but somebody dimed out to the media that they didn't know that the 4th person that they took in was actually a transgender person, and they mistakenly booked that person and put her in it with regular females, okay? And obviously that became a huge scandal. I'm not sure how much of the scandal that would have been here in America, but obviously it was a huge scandal over there, to the point where at the end, did he get suspended or did he get fired?
Pretty sure he got suspended and he got taken off the case. So, I mean, and we're halfway through and this guy continues to get dumped on, but he gets the ultimate dump where he's just taken out. We've seen this kind of storyline many, many times before. And it's interesting that it's so early in the series, but obviously he's going to pull an Ethan Hunt from the Mission Impossible series where he's going to go rogue and he's going to still try to solve things. And he's going to have to fight against the police force, intelligence agency, the bad guys to take it to the end. And more than likely at the end, he's going to be able to sew it all up and he'll be the super cop. Right. But it's interesting that it happened so early on, but I definitely think he got suspended.
But I tell you, yeah, because he had to turn in his badge, turn in his gun. But I'll tell you what, early on in the episode when he goes, listen, give me 24 hours. She gave us a good lead. And you know, this lead led up to a high up person. I forget what position the person is, but this person did admit that they did know Mary, right? Mary? Admit that he didn't know Mary, but then he was like, oh, those are some pretty big allegations, whatever. And I'm pretty sure that's who dimed out Chaudhry to the media, okay? Because then the next day they were all, not even the next day, I think that was that night, they were all at the police station waiting for him when he got there, and he was off the case, all right? It blew up in his face. But his boss told him, this is going pretty high. Be careful or be cautious as you investigate this because, you know, basically it may lead you to places and powerful people that you may not want to deal with. I feel like they're trying to stifle this investigation. They don't want people to know what's going on, which again, maybe somebody did hire, and we're talking about somebody high up, somebody did hire Vishal and crew to take out Sanjeev for whatever reason. Obviously, he's a reporter. He's got his nose where it doesn't belong. He's made a lot of powerful enemies. You know what I mean? But it's definitely they're putting obstacles there because the closer he gets to solving this thing, the more obstacles they put in his way. And now for something, in my opinion, as trivial as, and it wasn't his fault. He wasn't a female officer. So I still don't understand. I get it. He was in charge. He was the head officer in charge, but I'm going to take her word for it that she belongs in there. How is that his fault? He didn't personally search that individual. He wouldn't, as a male, search that female. So that was kind of like, they used them as a scapegoat there. You know what I mean?
There's too many things that fall into place that maybe it's just a show and it's just a coincidence and everything, but there's too many things. The lead detective is out on vacation for a week when this happens. Sanjeev is about to be replaced in his position when magically these guys go after an assassination and it revives his career. There's too many things that fall into place quite nicely. And Chaudhary, our man, he's the guy who's getting screwed in this entire thing, because if the investigation goes down because he's just a joke cop and he sucks at what he does, then they can he's a scapegoat. He's the reason why it went wrong. And man, we couldn't get Fishal when he had a chance. Now we got to let him loose. Sanjeev gets what he wants. I mean, things are just fit too nicely, but it's so intriguing. I hope that we're not set up for a huge letdown where it's just going to be kind of a lame ending. I've gotten some hints that from different comments and from different viewers that, you know, the ending wasn't their favorite, but sometimes the journey is awesome and the ending is just okay. But there's just so many questions that it makes me want to watch the next episode and the next episode, and building that intrigue in any kind of a show is really hard to do. And this show has done it. So, I mean, I don't really have much more to say about this episode. I'm sure you do, so I'll defer to you, but I'm just really enjoying it.
I think the one other thing I was going to say is in the prison, right? Or in the jail, I should say, because they're just being held right now, when Chaudhary is investigating Mary, chokes her and then kicks her on the ground, you see that Topi is laughing and he is absolutely cracking up. And then he stops for a second and his face gets serious. It's like, did he not know? Because it looked like Topi was himself like mystified that, it was a transgender woman, you know what I mean? That it wasn't a man. And you saw Kabir M's face as well. So it does look like they did not all have that intimate relationship where each one knew the details about everybody else. Does that make sense? Because they would have known that already. It wouldn't have been a shock to them. So that does lend to the credence that maybe they were just all thrown together into this thing. And maybe that's why people were saying they don't like it. Maybe it was as simple as they were all everybody's story is true. And they were all thrown into this, one murder plot assassination. And, it just so happened that they got caught, and whatever. They're still gonna have to explain to me how they got caught, who knew they were at that hotel, who knew what they were up to. But for sure, that stood out to me. That was one thing that really stood out to me. Like, why was he laughing? And then all of a sudden he got serious. Like, oh wow, they didn't know that. How do they not know that? Know that it looked like Kabir M even had a relationship with her. Wasn't he cutting her or whittling her some kind of toy or something? So like,
he had a little crush on her, and he looked like he was like, you gotta be kidding me. Like, he looked like he was surprised. I know I said nothing else to say, but this is actually something you brought up before we recorded. At the end, we see a picture, not a full picture, but we see a picture of a woman covering her face with taupe. And Gabe had a great theory. What's your theory about that?
To me, it looked like, and I know they mentioned something to the effect of this girl is intertwined with both worlds or whatever. But to me, it looked like Sanjeev's mistress, the assistant that works with him. And that would be very interesting if that is, then obviously this is something Sanjeev set up. He used her to do it. And then back to your original theory, this guy was playing way too coy with it. He did it because he knew he was on his last leg, so to speak, as far as being a reporter. So he needed one last massive story in order to be relevant. You know what I mean? But we'll see. We'll see. We're already through episode 4, and we're definitely going to get to it as quickly as possible. I think we're churning these out relatively quickly compared to some of the other things we've done. It's just tough though, because our schedules and we don't want to go ahead, but definitely stay tuned. Episode 5 is going to be coming up shortly. Every 2-3 days, we'll put these out there. Of course, the man Nick, he does all the editing for the channel. He does all the heavy lifting. So when he can get to it and cover up my 1,000 mistakes, that'll work.
Get out of here. we appreciate everyone that watches, and I truly appreciate Gabe and all the time he puts into. I mean, he puts so much time. We get questioned, how come not a lot of Joey, not a lot of Chris? And it's because our schedules are so busy. But Gabe and me, like, we bleed Boring Reviews, and we can't get enough of it. So I appreciate you, my friend. I appreciate you all for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And, you know, we're going to keep going to this series because we're loving it. Let us know how you're liking these reviews. And until next time.
We know all things.